The vaults of the Walt Disney Corporation contain archives going back for almost a century, and the material contained therein is all a product of its time. Over the years, and for various reasons, censors have come down on Mickey, mostly for material being a little too edgy for its time, but sometimes for reasons much weirder than one might expect. From the 1920s all the way up to the current decade, here are 9 Disney cartoons, episodes, and more banned by censors. The Vanishing Prairie. In the late 40s and early 50s, Disney's cartoons featuring Mickey Mouse and friends were not quite as popular as they once were, with the ascent of Warner Brothers, and everybody's favorite wascally wabbit, Bugs Bunny. Ever the innovator, Walt Disney saw this as an opportunity to expand into new areas, one of which was a nature documentary. These efforts were very successful, with 1948's Sea Island and 1953's The Living Desert both picking up Academy Awards. But 1954's The Vanishing Prairie, while also very high regarded, featured one sequence that drew the ire of New York State censors. The documentary takes a look at 1 year in the life of the Great Plains area of the United States, and the sequence in question was the unedited birth of a baby buffalo. Censors were concerned that this might upset some young viewers, and the sequence was banned in New York for a short time. Fortunately, The Vanishing Prairie had the advantage of being very good, even helping to establish the viability of the nature documentary in general. It also won an Oscar for Best Documentary, and the New York ban was lifted after a few months.
The Shindig cartoon. Many of Disney's earliest shorts featured slightly more obscure characters, like the 1931 cartoon The Shindig, which featured Clarabelle Cow. The short was promptly banned in the United States upon its release for a couple of reasons. It begins with Clarabelle reading a book while waiting to be picked up for a date. When he arrives, she gets dressed, implying that she had not been dressed before, which irritated censors. Also, they were irate that Clarabelle's udders were on full display. Yeah, seriously, we are censoring cow nudity, which they were sure would be a little too scandalous for some viewers. But the nail in the coffin of the Shindig was the title of Clarabelle's book, 3 Weeks. This real-world novel was written by Eleanor Glynn, a pioneer of erotic fiction, and was banned in Canada for being, and I quote, obscene. Religious leaders in the US weren't particularly fond of it either, and how it made its way into a Walt Disney cartoon was never properly explained. While it's not uncommon to find innuendo aimed over the heads of children in cartoons today, 1930s censors were having none of it.
The Barnyard Battle, Mickey Mouse cartoon. Disney cartoons were famously banned in Germany at the outset of America's involvement in World War II, but many are unaware that Hitler was actually a huge Mickey Mouse fan and owned an extensive collection of shorts. The only Disney short to be banned in Germany got the censors' axe 3 years before Hitler's rise to power. The 1929 cartoon Barnyard Battle, banned in Germany in 1930. The short depicts Mickey doing battle with anthropomorphic cats who also happen to be German soldiers from World War I. As you can imagine, Mickey claims humiliating victory over the bumbling German feline forces, making them look silly in a way that an increasingly totalitarian government is not likely to be too keen on. Interestingly, once Hitler came to power, he could not abide any of his beloved Disney cartoons being unavailable to him, so he simply had the offending scenes removed and lifted the ban.
Deadly Force, Gargoyles. Although it only ran for 3 seasons, Gargoyles is beloved by many 90s kids, being the story of ancient gargoyles that come to life at night and protect the city, the aid of their police officer friend. The show featured complex storylines and a dark tone that was quite unique for children's programming of the time. One of the storylines in the series' first season got a little too topical for its own good and pushed the boundaries of what type of subject matter was acceptable for kids' television. Episode number 8, Deadly Force, sees one of the gargoyles, the childlike happy-go-lucky Broadway, accidentally shoot Elisa, their cop companion, with her own gun while copying behavior she saw in a movie. Well, she of course survives, after all it is a children's show. It's a shocking and bloody incident that censors decided put across its "don't play with guns" message a little too effectively. The episode is pulled, but allowed to re-air after a few changes are made. Most significantly, the removal of all traces of blood from the offending scene.
Quitting Cold Koala. Jessie. The live-action sitcom Jessie aired on the Disney Channel for 4 seasons beginning in 2011. It's the adventures of a small-town girl who moves to New York to become an actress, but instead ends up a nanny to celebrity children. The show wasn't exactly known for courting controversy, but one episode was briefly banned from airing for one odd reason. Before the season 2 episode Quitting Cold Koala ever aired, it was available on the Disney's website video on demand, and among the viewers who saw it were some that were very upset at the show's treatment of gluten sensitivity. This might seem odd at first, but many young viewers, many of whom presumably were dealing with sensitivity to gluten themselves, were brought to tears by the episode's portrayal of Stewart's gluten allergy.
Is this pancake gluten-free?
It's glue-free. Is that close enough?
Bertram, I forgot to mention, Stewart has a few minor dietary requirements. It's just a short 5-page list. Gluten!
Oh, he makes me look macho.
Other characters mock him throughout, making fun of his 5-page list of dietary restrictions, and he is shown to be a cowering wimp who is scared to even touch a pancake. After a barrage of complaints, Disney pulled the episode from its broadcast schedule until the offending segments were edited out. Many parents remained unhappy, feeling that they shouldn't have to worry about Disney giving kids license to bully other kids with disabilities.
Party It Up, Shake It Up. Shake It Up ran for 3 seasons beginning in 2010, helping to make a star out of Zendaya, who will be featured in this summer's Spider-Man Homecoming. The show followed a group of teenage backup dancers on a local show and their offset shenanigans, which again doesn't sound like something that would court excessive controversy. However, in a first season episode, a supermodel character remarked to a couple of the show's teenage protagonists, "I could just eat you up. Well, if I ate." The obvious anorexia joke may have been lost on some viewers, but ex-Disney star Demi Lovato noticed, and she wasn't happy. After the episode's airing, she fired off a series of tweets, slamming Disney for allowing the so-called joke to make it into the script. Considering that Demi had left her own Disney sitcom to enter rehab for eating disorders, Disney wasted no time by pulling the episode and, amazingly, a different episode, which hadn't aired yet, presumably avoiding another controversy.
Promises, Promises. The Truth About Honesty, and If You Can't Be With the One You Love, Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World was an ABC Family live-action sitcom that probably helped about 1 million teenagers navigate that crucial time of their lives. It was a fairly honest, especially for ABC and Disney, look at the tribulations of growing up, focusing on main character Corey Matthews and his life from middle school to college. When the series ended in 2000, it was picked up for reruns by the Disney Channel, which declined to air 3 episodes which it felt contained subject matter too mature for young viewers. In If You Can't Be With the One You Love, Corey decides to get drunk after being dumped by his girlfriend. He talks best friend Sean into joining him, only to have the decision almost ruin Sean's life with an immediacy that only sitcoms can deal in. The other 2 banned episodes, The Truth About Honesty and Promises, Promises, deals with the teen's decisions on whether or not to have sex. Strangely, Disney nixed the episodes despite the fact that the first depicts alcohol as being sort of like Satan, only maybe a little worse, and the other 2 both featured their teen protagonists deciding that they're not emotionally mature enough for sex yet. Unfortunately, it was decided by Disney that positive messages about sex and alcohol were to be avoided in favor of not discussing these subjects at all.
Disney's UFO documentary. The 1995 documentary Alien Encounters has become the stuff of urban legend. This is because it was only aired once with no promotion and only on 5 stations across the United States before disappearing for decades. And also because it treats its subject matter, the visitation of Earth by extraterrestrials, not as speculation, but cold hard fact. The show was a tie into the Disney World attraction of the same name that likewise was shut down only after 6 months. Conspiracy theorists on the quickly growing internet were quick to tie the documentary in with the emerging theories about the House of Mouse and its supposed involvement with Satanism, the Illuminati, aliens, and other such strange evil things which, for the most part, don't necessarily exist to the rational mind. However, these theories were only strengthened when the video turned up on the internet years later and was found to be exactly as weird as people speculated. The 45-minute video features an intro from then Disney CEO Michael Eisner and does indeed discuss the ET conspiracy with a completely straight face. You can see the full version online and decide for yourself if Mickey is in league with alien invaders, or perhaps Satan himself if the more crazies are to be believed.
Song of the South. Finally, we have Song of the South, which has probably contributed more to Disney canon than any other entry on this list, solely by virtue of Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah, a song which everyone on Earth is seemingly born knowing the melody to, and which won an Academy Award for Best Song in 1947. Many of its segments, like the ones featuring Brer Rabbit, pop up occasionally as shorts, but the complete film has never been released on video in the US, and it never will. This is because the film is set right after the close of the Civil War, and is narrated by a former slave named Uncle Remus. Not only is the film lousy with offensive and stereotypical depictions of black people, but it's safe to say that the master and slave dynamic was described rather inaccurately. In short, slavery was shown not to be the barbaric institution that it was, but as a gentlemanly arrangement between equals, with happy singing slaves cheerfully serving their beloved masters. This self-serving and racist interpretation was not looked kindly upon when the film was revisited in later decades. For instance, after the Civil Rights Movement, Disney voluntarily banned it from video release in the US, as noted by the great film critic Roger Ebert, who supported the ban. These films tend to become entrenched in the minds of their young viewers, and Disney, perhaps not so evil after all, agreed that perhaps children should not be taught that slavery was just A-okay.